Hello, we are Bethany and Aleyna, and we will be looking at the role of the oil and gas industry, specifically Exxon, the largest non-government-owned company in the energy industry globally, in spreading climate denial and doubt over the past 40 years.
So initially Exxon was keen to go into climate research. They had nuclear and solar energy branches and hired climate scientists. Through Exxon's research, a paper was published by their scientists on March 12, 1979, finding that the Earth would consistently warm up, with the only uncertainties being when and how quickly. Their findings have turned out to be incredibly accurate and align with what has happened in the climate since then. However, the company realised that this information was an existential threat to their business, and from this point on started to push for delays in climate action.
By 1988, climate change was starting to move into the realm of public policy. A Senate hearing on the 23rd of June concluded that the Earth's temperature was warmer than ever. Climate change was definitely linked to the greenhouse effect, and computer climate simulations showed that the greenhouse effect was already large enough to affect the probability of extreme weather events. Furthermore, in January 1989, the scientist Terry Yosi published Climate Change, the Knowns and Unknowns, which showed a scientific consensus that the atmosphere was changing due to human activities. However, this led to a counterattack from industries.
The policy of denial really began in 1989, such as with the American Petroleum Institute's view, expressed by the scientist Patrick Michaels, that their policies would be no more drastic than the science of the time, arguing that those pushing for climate action were cherry-picking information from decades ago to support a misleading predetermined narrative. This was consistent with Exxon's view, especially from the mid-1990s, when Lee Raymond became the CEO, because he was extremely supportive of the denial of climate change, continuously saying that it was an unproven theory and the science was inconclusive. For example, in the run-up to the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, which aimed to extend legislation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, he said that it was based on the unproven theory that fossil fuels, affect the Earth's climate, so it was critical that they in the industry provide a voice of common sense on this important issue.
In 1998, a meeting was held in which Exxon discussed the strategies they would use to avoid the public being concerned about climate change. As part of this strategy to spread doubt, Exxon put $30 million towards think tanks, casting doubt over the scientific evidence. The US presidential elections in 2000 seemed hopeful, as both George Bush and Al Gore pledged to combat climate change. However, within 5 months into his presidency, Bush was already beginning to emphasize climate change uncertainty to the general public. Pressure from the fossil fuel industry played a major role in this, with Haley Barbour, an influential Republican and energy lobbyist, writing to the Vice President, Dick Cheney, leading them to abandon their climate goals.
Despite their climate denial, Exxon tried to keep up an image of being green. In the 2000s, they donated their archives to the Library of the University of Texas, perhaps as a PR effort to show that they were transparent. Later, in 2009, they publicly stated that they were trying to reduce methane leakages, even though research showed that they weren't decreasing. Furthermore, they presented methane as a green fuel, even as research shows that it trapped more heat in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide. Moreover, at the time of the push to reduce methane emissions in 2015, during Obama's presidency, they argued that they didn't need restrictions as they would reduce emissions of their own accord.
In October 2021, questioning began into Exxon's history of misinformation, with the top oil executives from a range of companies being questioned in court. Exxon tried to shut the court case down by arguing freedom of speech, but it continued due to the allegations over spreading misinformation. The company has also started promoting carbon capture and storage, saying that it is a green solution, but also because it means the continuation of the use of fossil fuels. However, it isn't competitive with renewables and won't do enough to help the environment. They no longer deny climate change, but argue that their industry is necessary, as 85% of the world's energy comes from hydrocarbons, and they've increased their fossil fuel production. Some of the company employees have left after finding out about the history of misinformation, such as Da-Long Chang, an Exxon engineer.
So, to finish, this clearly shows that ExxonMobil and the wider fossil fuel industry ignored the agreement among the scientific community that increased CO2 in the atmosphere leads to the greenhouse effect, resulting in climate change, as well as investing resources into publicly denying these scientific findings. They spread doubt about climate change and its causes amongst the general public, while also interfering with government policies for their own economic benefit. This denial and spreading of doubt has led to a huge delay in climate action, setting us back 40 years. Thank you for listening.